Hey everybody, Paddy here. Now thank you so much for watching and listening to TFN, which of course stands for The Effin' News. Now every week I find amazing people and positive stuff, lessons, solutions, inspiration to make the place we live better for us all. Now here is what's coming up on this show. First up, our great Kiwi. Today, well, he's not a Kiwi, but he definitely is great. I'm talking to UK comedian Ben Elton about New Zealand. Today's good Kiwi are using their honeymoon to raise money for charity. How? By driving a Mini the length of the country. Next, how good is sucking up to Trump? Donald Trump, that is. Spoiler alert, it's good. And after that, I've got good news from a brainy Kiwi amidst the world's tariff meltdown. Finally, I want you to meet famous American outlaw driver Alex Roy, who broke the record for driving across America. His next adventure might just start in Christchurch. Right, let's get into it. Time to meet our great Kiwi. So Ben Elton is a legend of comedy from way back in the 1980s when he redefined British comedy with shows like Blackadder through his 16 novels. Yes, 16 novels this guy's written, and then all of his movies and musicals and all of that kind of stuff. He comes to New Zealand regularly to bring us his stand-up shows, and he's here now on The Effin' News. Ben Elton, welcome to the fucking news, because that's the show that you're on right now.
Okay, well, I'm very fucking happy to be on the fucking news.
This is the fucking news. That's what we call this. We call it the Effin' News, but we can say fucking.
Okay.
So thanks very much for coming.
Okay, fuck yeah. All right.
This is going to be good. And welcome to New Zealand. You know, you're on another tour here, and something that I really, really rate about you is something that I like doing here, which is getting out to the regions of New Zealand. I love it as well, but you're the real big time. But you like getting out to small town regional New Zealand.
Well, look, it's more getting out to see people who want to see me. I've been fortunate. I've had a lovely long career in Britain, New Zealand, and Australia. That's the market that knows me, and as long as they want to come and see me, I'll go and see them. So yeah, I mean, my promoter said, look, we've got Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch selling well. So do you want to, take on a few other towns? And of course, yeah. And we've even booked a holiday to finish it. We finish in Christchurch, or I finish, and then my wife's joining me probably for the last gig. And we're going to have a week in the Southern Alps. So, yeah, we're making the most of New Zealand this time.
You're going to have a week in the Southern Alps?
Yeah, a proper holiday. We've got booked a, luxury, place. Going to be wine and walks and fires, and we're fantastic. Can't wait. Because I've done 110 gigs so far on this tour, and there'll be about another 7 in Oz, and then comes New Zealand. It's all been a preparation for New Zealand. I've been building a plinth. The UK, I did Amsterdam, I did Oslo, and of course Ireland, and now Australia. And when I get to New Zealand, I've got it right.
Yeah, and one thing I really wanted to talk to you, I've read lots of your novels, and I always find that you're really on the zeitgeist. And, one of the big issues in New Zealand, this might surprise you as well, it might not, at the moment, is wokeness. And we're trying to get our heads around wokeness. Now, you wrote Identity Crisis about 5 years ago, is that right?
I did, yeah. I'm always ahead of the game.
No, we're behind.
Dame Emma Thompson says I'm a prophet. She says every book seems to be, 5 years ahead. I like to look around and see the funny and see the interesting in the world I live in. I'm endlessly interested in humanity and my place amongst it. Look, I don't think this woke business. I've always had a bit of a... On the whole, I tend to be very pro-progressive thinking. I mean, what we call woke now used to be called political correctness. And some people kind of blame me for it. They think I was the sort of godfather back in the 80s. Oh, Ben Elton railing against sexism and everything. Like, oh, you can't even be funny about sex. Of course you can be funny about sex. And you can have cheeky comedy and titillating comedy. But sexist comedy where women are just the butt of the joke, where their bodies are just the props for male humour, that was something that was never funny, particularly. So what I'm saying is, change is always difficult, and what we, everything that we value was once considered outrageously politically correct. Female suffrage at one point was, that's going too far. We shouldn't be able to beat them within a marriage, but giving them the vote, that's a bit much. Like, emancipation of slavery at one point was considered radical left-wing thinking. Woke isn't killing comedy. Gen Z's not trying to silence us. There'll always be zealots on the fringe, now on the internet, so that gives them much more anonymous power, who go too far, who police, suddenly you have a kind of Orwellian hate crime, whereas if you don't agree with us, you're an evil fascist. And that's not good for democracy if everybody is drawing such absolutist lines. And, of course, the beneficiary is the likes of Donald Trump, who will weaponize people's confusion and turn it into hatred. I like to recognise the positive in the new thinking. I think there's much to be valued, and I still find I can say anything I like. I've always careful about how I say it because I don't want to be misunderstood.
Yeah, so you say whatever you want, but you're careful about saying it.
Because I apply my morals. I'm not going to. Punching down is the new way. They say don't punch down. Real comedy is recognising your own weakness and then having the audience say, I'm like that too. You know what I mean? If you can find a way to celebrate our shared smallness, our humanity, the fact that we're all scared, we all want to be liked, we're all vain. If Donald Trump had the slightest idea of what a small man he is, he'd probably be a better person for it. But this kind of vainglorious grandstanding is what's the problem.
Because, Emma Thompson has described you as a prophet, as you've said yourself.
Yeah, I said it.
You are a prophet.
That's
for people in New Zealand, Kiwis who are anxious about Donald Trump, what sort of prophecy do you have about the kind of world that people are worried about?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Donald Trump is obviously a symptom. In the internet, I knew it. I think most people could see that it wasn't going to democratize knowledge. It was actually going to democratize ignorance. It means that we used to there'll be no gatekeepers, but gatekeepers actually used to editors for all. I didn't much like the press. They were answerable. They were answerable to the law. They were accountable. Nothing on the internet is accountable, and I think that we're going to have to struggle to deal with this. It's a problem that's unwinding in real time. Clearly as we speak, society is in great flux. Trump, this famous move fast and break things, which the tech bros seem to think. I never thought breaking things was a particularly great ambition. I think I'm hoping that the example of a bunch of strong men emerging and promising they're going to fix things will very quickly pall. I hope it will actually return us to community values where we realise that things are fixed by communities. But individuals hoping that Elon Musk or some other tech bro or some strong politician will fix everything is clearly madness. And I hope this is exposed. And we'll realise that, it takes a village to fix things. I don't know. I have to be optimistic. I've got kids. I want the human race to continue. But, these are dangerous times. There's no doubt. We're looking at the possibility of Europe rearming. All Trump's pulling out of the American nuclear umbrella seems to have mean is a proliferation of suddenly the French and the British are saying, well, we're going to have to build more nukes. It's a sad time.
So even you're shitting yourself about Donald Trump. Well, the prophet's worried.
I'm not really. Look, Emma was being very kind. Look, I live a lot of the time in Europe. Yeah, I'm worried. Putin is clearly a lunatic. He's on the march. Whatever we let him take, he'll take. And that's a scary prospect.
Well, let's talk about wellness, because you're 65, I see. You're turning 66 on the tour. You're going to celebrate, down by Mount Cook here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. How good.
Yeah.
Wellness. Are you into wellness or something? Because you look well, you look great.
I exercise every day, but I love to drink. I will never give up booze. I adore it, and I hate the fact that governments seem to see it as their duty to endlessly tick us off for doing the things we like. Some health campaigns are fine. The cigarettes, that was kind of fine, but now let's do it on booze, let's do it on food. I think, this idea that longevity is the only worthwhile medical ambition, that it basically, medicine has won if we can all just live longer and longer and longer. I think that's madness, because they don't consider the quality of life. And, I was doing a routine on my last tour, the government was terribly pleased and anxious for us all to know that apparently it's a fact, and it is a fact, that if you drink even in moderation, it will knock 2 years off your life. And the British kind of government was going, everyone should know this, because imagine it, lose 2 years of your life just for a few glasses of wine. Who would do that? They don't tell you which 2 years. They mean the last 2 years. I don't want to live those last 2 years. I watch my parents. It's not nice. I'd rather have a few more drinks and avoid the last few years. I think wellness is a state of mind. I exercise because I like to drink. I don't drink every night anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. But when I do drink, I get on it. I like to eat, I like to eat fish and chips and roast meals and things. So.
This is a great wellness routine.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
I think on the whole, you know, a healthy lifestyle means everything in moderation, but my idea of moderation on a night when I'm drinking is let me say I've moved the goalpost considerably.
Yes, now I'm very well known. You won't realise this. I'm very well known for not drinking in this country.
Really? Are you a recoverer?
Yeah. But
do you mean you're an alcoholic?
Yes, but not anymore.
I thought you were always an alcoholic.
I think some people say that.
Because that was my joke. People say, well, of course, you know, I've been dry for 30 years, but I'm still an alcoholic. And I said, well, have a bloody drink then. It's obviously not working.
You can have one for me while you're out here. Now,
no, look, if you, that's my point. If you drink a teaspoon of wine and you go out and fight a policeman and you can't give up that teaspoon of wine, you're an alcoholic. But if, like me, you drink a bottle and a half of wine, but you pay your tax, you love your wife, and you don't get into fights, then why think about giving it up? What's the problem? You know, that's my... Of course, if, you know, it's like with fast foods. If you're finding that it's, you know, it's affecting your life and you can't give it up and you're becoming obese or whatever, then you need to try and address that. But if you're enjoying an occasional McDonald's and, you know, what is the problem?
Yeah, no, but you look great. So you keep enjoying it. Enjoy it while you're here. Will your next novel be on wellness then? Because this is a huge industry.
Well, no. I think people were taking a piss out of Gwyneth Paltrow years ago. I think that's a boat I don't particularly want to get on. I think it's too easy a target. You know, unfortunately, I think the times are going to get very difficult and dangerous in the short term. And people will probably, wellness will be a question of staying alive and keeping democracy afloat. I think wellness at the moment is averting a resurgence of global fascism. That's my view. So you want to talk about wellness, let's make sure centre-right governments stay centre and don't start drifting further and further to the right by massaging hatred. That's my view.
This is the prophecy. It came in the end from the prophet.
It's a plea rather than a prophecy.
Yeah, it's a plea. And finally, this segment of the fucking news is called Great Kiwi. We always have Great Kiwi on here. You're obviously not a Kiwi, but we do ask all of our Kiwis to give advice to other Kiwis, just something from their life. So, yeah, I'm asking you as a great Kiwi, an honorary one.
Yeah, I've been here a lot.
Yeah, well, give us some advice.
Aussie, which is kind of halfway.
Yes, that's right. Well, I wasn't going to bring that up.
Yeah,
but
I know. Sometimes it tells against you, but I'm British and Australian now because I married an Aussie girl. My advice is the same advice that Polonius gave to Hamlet in Shakespeare's great play. And that is, above all to thine own self be true. I think that works as a comedian. Don't crack a joke if you really know it's not funny. It's just getting an easy, brutal laugh. Saying some group are work shy or some group are stupid. You know it's a lie. Don't say it. Find a good joke. Find a joke about your own weakness that you can share and that other people will celebrate theirs too. In politics, don't say something you know is not true. Don't say, oh, immigrants are eating their cats like Trump did. He knew that wasn't true, but he thought, well, this is an easy win. I'll say it anyway. Above all to thine own self be true. If everybody was just honest and didn't sort of let themselves off, let them say a lie because it gets a laugh or it gets a thumbs up, you know, I think we'd all be better off. I try and be honest in my life and in my work.
Brilliant interview. Thank you very much, Ben Elton.
My pleasure.
Ben's tour goes to Wellington, Auckland, Dunedin and Christchurch. Ticketmaster has the tickets.